Good evening. It's time for us to begin. I don't really have any updates on any of the sick that were turned in this morning, so let's continue to remember all of them. And also coming up next week on the 8th, the Easter egg hunt in the annex at 10 o'clock. Bring your finger foods and a dozen candy-filled eggs for that. And also coming up later in April, the 16th through the 19th, our gospel meeting. Brother David Morris from Highland will be speaking, and Gary Braswell will be leading the singing. The Sunday morning is the normal time. Sunday night and through Wednesday night will be 7 p.m. So let's continue to remember that in our prayers, and also remember all the sick that we have associated with the congregation, the shut-ins and all those. Let's continue to remember all of them in our prayer. All right, let's bow for a word of prayer here. Our Father in heaven, we thank you for this day and all the blessings that you give us. We thank you for this time that we can come together to learn more of your words so that we can better serve you. And we ask you to be with us as we go throughout our week, that you would help us to be the good examples to those that we meet every day, so that they can see your light shining through our lives. We ask you to be with those of this congregation that are sick, that you would help them recover, if it be your will, and comfort those that have lost loved ones in recent time, that you would let them look to you in their time of sorrow, and ask you to be with us and help us to do the things that we need to do for those that are sick, and to help those that have lost loved ones through their grief at this time. And then we ask you to continue to be with us, and thank you for everything you give us. And in Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Good evening. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I'll be honest with you, there was something that was kind of been weighing on me a little bit, and I've changed what we're going to do tonight. And if you're disappointed in that, I apologize. But this was just something that was kind of on my mind. And I'll be honest, I was thinking about people like Mr. Hazel and others just like him that we've lost here in the last few years. We have lost some great encouragers, haven't we? And it just was that reminder of, what if we don't have others to step up? There were so many people who came to the Lord's church because of these men and women who were great encouragers. And so tonight, that's what I want to talk about. Is, am I an encourager? And as we kind of go through this study, I just want you to think about who you are and how maybe you can grow in the area of encouragement. Because honestly, encouragement should be something that comes from all of us, shouldn't it? We should all be encouragers. So that's what we're going to look at tonight. So who is an encourager? And I got this from a book, and we'll talk about these for just a minute. They are people who are usually effective in relating to others in a positive way. We would agree with that. They are pleasant to be around because their optimism and enthusiasm about life. Now, I'll be honest, my wife makes fun of me because I'm a little too optimistic sometimes. You know, it'll be cloudy outside and storming, and I'll be like, hey, here in a little bit, it's probably going to be sunny. She said, you just want to believe what you want to believe. But I am kind of a cup half full guy. I think sometimes it might drive her insane though. But anyways, those people who are encouragers are usually optimistic. They try to find the good and are trying to be enthusiastic about life so people will buy into the joy we should have. This third one I want to talk a little bit more about. They radiate a quiet self-confidence which enables them to focus on others rather than demand constant attention to fulfill their own emotional need. Do y'all agree with that in all cases? Somebody's quiet self-confidence? in somebody who's an encourager? I kind of struggled with that a little bit. Even though I agree with it, you know, some people are encouragers because they don't want to get bogged down with all the hardships that they face in life, and so they turn and give to others. That's just how they deal with life. That's their way of dealing with it, is let me help you because I can't change this, I can't deal with it, so let me just give. So some of them aren't the ones who, they may need emotional support and emotional help, but they just choose to give anyways. And I appreciate that. And yes, there are many people who are the quiet self-confident, say, you know what, my life's good, so let me just help other people. Or my life's at least okay, so let me help other people. But I think the other is true too, and I think people just deal with that in a way. What do y'all think about those when you think about being an encourager? And I 100% agree with that. I think that's spot on. And I'll be honest, if you are struggling, and I understand you have to get to a point to be able to do this, but when you are struggling, sometimes the best thing you can do is try to help somebody else. Because those are the moments where your heart turns. It's a moment, because life is hard, and we get so caught up in what we're facing, and it's real. I don't want to take that away from all of us experience it. But sometimes the best thing we can do is to give God to somebody else. Shine that light for somebody else. Encourage them and build them up. Because when you see that smile come across somebody else's face, it's kind of like today's going to be a good day. Sometimes it's just a feeling of God used me today. And those are blessings. Were you going to say something, Miss Rosemary? Or did that?
When I read it, I thought it was talking about as opposed to someone who constantly needed attention to fulfill their needs.
And that's probably an accurate way to look at it, because there are too many people who are so self-consumed, even if there's nothing going on in their life. You know, so that's true. We're not looking at that person. It is the opposite, who's constantly looking outward. So. But honestly, we need to look at everybody's perspective. That helps us to see life better.
Well, I focused on the quiet self-confidence to start with.
Yes.
Because to me, much rather be an encourager and encourages people not only to do their own thing, but to follow others. And so you much rather be following some quiet, self-confident person than some drama of
Yes.
scattered individual.
Yes. I know it's true.
So we all focus on something different.
We did, but because the thing is even though when I see somebody else who's going through drama, my heart goes out to them because there's something going on that's causing it. But boy, I sure don't want to be caught up in it. If I can't help them through it, you don't want to just dwell there in the pit of that misery that they go through. Or sometimes people just like to be stirring stuff up all the time. They just like that life. They feed off of it. And so you're right. Those aren't the people we really want to connect with completely. But in Christianity, we're looking for encouragers as well. 1 Thessalonians 5:11 reminds us, therefore encourage one another and build one another up just as you are doing. And even though I sat there and I thought about these people that have already gone on to their eternal reward, I still look at so many of you who are encouragers. And I'm going to tell you, it means a lot. That's why I believe, one, that you're here tonight. But I also believe that that's why before service and after service, so many people are spending time with each other. We spend time with each other because there's people in this building we want to be around. And honestly, we spend time because we need the encouragement, and we're knowing somebody here is probably going to give it to us. And what a blessing that is. And he's bragging on, therefore encourage one another and build one another up just as you are doing. And y'all do an excellent job with that. But I hope it's something we always grow at. We want to get better. We find somebody different to encourage that maybe we've never encouraged before. Hebrews 3:13, but exhort one another every day, as long as it is called today, that none of you may be hardened by the deceitfulness of sin. What happens if people aren't encouraged? I'm sorry, that was the right answer. That's a good answer, but I was really going by this verse. So what does it say was going to happen if people aren't encouraged? But isn't it true? When I feel like I don't have support from people around me, people that I should be able to count on, people's heart becomes hardened. It's like people don't care. What's the point? Why would I invest in you if you're not going to invest in me? And all of a sudden, we're not the people that God wants us to be.
It just reminds me of the Israelites. Think about when they had people that was leading them in the right way, they did bad. When that person was gone, was there, he helped them along, encouraged them the right way. What they did, they turned away. They just see, basically hearts hardened, they turned away from God.
And time again. And it says every time in the book of Judges, when that judge died, then. And honestly, that's the importance of encouragement. And going off of what Jeff just said, don't we depend on our elders to encourage us? The leaders of the church, the people we're saying, hey, y'all are shepherding us. It makes a difference. But it's honestly kind of the culture that they have helped to build, is a place where people are encouraged. And I'm thankful for that, and we have that. But I don't want to just leave it at the elders either. It is everybody's individual responsibility to be an encourager. It's the importance, because you may be the difference of somebody's heart getting a little bit harder today or brightening it up, and somebody wanting to say, you know what, today's going to be an okay day. It makes a huge difference. I was at a ball game the other day, and one of the other parents was saying, man, you smile a lot, don't you? And he said, he said, I wish people realized what it meant. For what it means to somebody when somebody's walking by and they smile. If everybody understood that, everybody else would be smiling more. Because if all of a sudden you notice somebody's just kind of down, but all of a sudden you're smiling, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you? It's just enough to get them out of that mode. It's those little things that we can do easy to be that little bit of encouragement that changes somebody's day, somebody's outlook, and helping them not to fall farther and farther away. Questions or comments about that? That might have been before my time. Did I say that? Oh, I can't believe I just said that. Hey, but that's a great thought. It really is. I've never heard that song before, but it's a great, do what? In the teens? Oh, I love it. I'm glad we can laugh together. Laughter's a great medicine. We have examples. I'm sorry, go ahead, Mike.
I don't know if this is the right time to say it. I had an uncle that was in a wheelchair. And he always had the most uplifting way about him. And one day, he and I was out in his garage, and I just asked him, I said, man, how do you deal with that? He said, I can always look around and find somebody else in worse shape than I am. And I thought to myself, Lord, how powerful that is.
Yeah.
So if you want to make it about yourself and wallow in your own misery, and it's easy to do that.
Yes.
It's easy to go to that state. Or you can look around and see how you can encourage and how you can uplift other people. And that's something he always done, which, everybody that knew him loved him.
Yeah.
Because he always had just a way about him of just, get aggravated far out of you, laugh, cut up with you, and pick at you about everything. But it was just like, I thought, man, and that really helped me in my years of growing up around him to have a better outlook on life.
Yeah.
In general.
We know people like that, and we're so blessed to have those people in our life. But let's be honest, I guarantee you he had some bad days too. But the thing is, the difference there is the choice he made. Because he could have stayed there in those bad days. But he said, no, what can I do to help somebody today. And aren't you glad God puts those people in our lives? Yes.
Kind of drawing on what you said, I do think that we, as we get older, we learn to appreciate the encouragers and learn to be more encouraging because we appreciate the value of it. But having, well, raising children, almost adults, and working with even 5-year-olds, there is so much we need to be teaching the generations below us, your grandkids, your kids, your great-grandkids, about being an encourager and lifting other people up and not drawing the attention just for yourself, not focusing on that, because that's not what the world's telling them.
Yeah.
The world is telling them everything but think about others. So I think as this group of people, we need to be focused on the ones we can reach to really impress that value on them.
I think that's a great point. And can I say part of the reason that I decided to do this lesson tonight is because y'all are here intentionally. We're talking about the future of the Lord's church, people who genuinely care. And I'm not saying the others don't. That's not what I'm saying. If they're not here tonight, that's not what I'm saying. We got the teens in an area wide. But I know you chose to be here. It was intentional for you to be here. This is a big deal for you to be here. And the people who invest the most, if we're not the ones who are the shining light, the encourager, and you're exactly right, if we don't teach our kids, we don't teach our grandkids, that life's not about you no matter your condition, you got to wake up every day and make this choice, then what's going to happen to the Lord's church in 10 years, 20 years? He was one of the ones on my mind. I mean, when I think about the people that we've lost here in these last few years, yeah, yes, yeah. I mean, when I think about Mr. Hazel, when I think about Mr. Buck, and I just don't want to leave anybody out, so I'm afraid to list everybody that I thought of, but I can tell you 5 people automatically just popped up into my mind that I thought of who were just great encouragers. And that's how they live life. And you're right. I'm sure Mr. Buck many times was in pain. And anybody would walk in the house or he'd walk in the church and it would all be about everybody else except him. And you did. You had a great example around you. But Miss Sarah, you're a great example as well.
We have a little boy on our bus, and he's in a wheelchair. And he's a real encourager. He gets out of that chair, and he comes and sits with different ones every day. This one little boy that we're having trouble with, he's always looking around at this little boy's wheelchair, and the little boy sticks his tongue out at him. And sometimes that other boy won't even get off the bus until he goes for this little boy's wheelchair to stick his tongue out at him. He's just such a great encourager, even for me.
Yes.
Because he's always smiling and just talking to everybody good stuff.
And you think about a young kid in elementary school, and that's his outlook on life, even though he's confined to that wheelchair. So, and what a blessing. But we need people like that in our lives to remind us, hey, other people have it worse, and look at the heart that they've got. We have examples in the Bible with Moses in Deuteronomy chapter 3, verses 37 and 38. This is where Moses, he's not going to get to go into the promised land. And God instructs him, hey, you're going to go up here and you can look and you can see what it's going to look like. But I want you first to go down and I want you to command Joshua and encourage him and strengthen him. Do you realize that God asked Moses to go to encourage and strengthen the guy who was going to get to do what he wanted to do? Moses wanted to lead him across. Moses wanted to get all the way past to the other side to see what it was going to be like to establish his home for his family. He didn't get to do that. And God said, would you go encourage him? And Moses said, yes, sir, I will. What do you need me to do? Do you know there are things in life that we're not going to get to do that somebody else is going to get to? And that example is set for us to be there to encourage and support them so that they can be what God designed them to be. And it may be something that we wish we could do or hoped to have been able to do. What a great example that is. We have Hezekiah in 2 Chronicles 32, 6 through 8. And he set combat commanders over the people and gathered them together to him in the square at the gate of the city, and spoke encouragingly to them, saying, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or dismayed before the king of Assyria and all the horde that is with him. For theirs are more with us than with him. With him is an arm of flesh, but with us is the Lord our God to help us and fight our battles." And the people took confidence from the words of Hezekiah, king of Judah. Do you ever feel like the weight of the world's on you? Whether it's your job, whether it's your kids, grandkids, whether it's life, whether it's ailment, sickness, whatever, it's just on you and you are struggling. Do you realize what this is saying here? We need people in our life to encourage us during those moments to say, yeah, I know all that stuff's true and it's real and it's happening, but don't forget who your God is. Yep, it's more out there physically that you can see that's against you and it's weighing on you, but don't forget who God is. God is more. But don't we need that encouragement? Listen to what it said. The people took confidence from these words. It was that moment of hearing it from somebody they trusted and they cared about, knew cared about them. And it was like, you're right. That's what I needed to realize. God is with me. God's never let me down before. We're good. I just needed it so I could have confidence to move forward. That's the power of encouraging. And we need to make sure we have that for other people. We have an example with Paul in Colossians 2, 1 and 2. "For I want you to know how great a struggle I have for you and for those in Laodicea and for all who have not seen me face to face, that their hearts might be encouraged, being knit together in love." I want you to notice what he was wanting for them. He wanted their hearts to be encouraged. But how? Through love for each other. Being knit together, being bound together, just like you knit something together so it holds, being knit together in love. If I truly love you and I care about you, I should be a constant encouragement to you. I should be that support that you need, not only in bad times, but also in good times. Hey, it is good to see you. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad we got to spend time together. I am so glad that it's you. That should be my constant message to you, as it should be for me, and we should have for each other as we are being knit together in love through this great encouragement we have for each other. That's what the Lord's church should be. You know, adolescents need this, don't they? If adolescents do not receive attention and support from parents, where will they look for it? Is it typically in a good place? It's usually not. It usually is the first person to extend it. But because their confidence is already low, it's usually not somebody that's going to be a healthy relationship, is it? Because if I can't get attention and support from the people I should count on the most, why would all these other people who are good people care about me? So let me find all these people over here because you seem to be alone too. Let me go over here and all of a sudden they find themselves in a bad situation. We got to remember that our teenagers, these kids that we're wanting to raise, these grandkids that we're wanting to help, they need attention and support. They desperately want to feel a sense of belonging and know that they matter to others. Not only parents and grandparents, we're also talking about the church here. Now understand, I really think we do a great job as the Lord's church here. We're constantly doing things for our teens to give them support and encouragement, and we see the response. We see how many times these young men have gotten up here and led service, and ladies, y'all have seen all the Shine Sisters when the young ladies have been down there doing things, but it's more than that. We see the work that they do around here. We also see the fellowship that they have on Wednesday nights together, wanting to be together. There's a lot of good that's happening here, but let's never lose sight of that and the importance of it, because these teens are the future of the Lord's church. It's also true in adults. Adults frequently exhibit despondency and unhealthy practices such as alcoholism and adultery. And it's not just those two sins, there's other sins. But when adults don't find attention and support, they start looking other places too. They're just as human. They need to find a place where they feel loved and cared about by the people in their family that's closest to them. Why? Because that's who they're counting on. That's who they're looking at. They're sitting there going, I need you. But also it's true for the Lord's church, isn't it? Because if people walk in these doors and they feel like there's not people to support them and love them, they're like, why would I come in this place again? And I don't say that as we have this overwhelming problem, but I do believe that there's been people who have walked in these doors before who have felt that way and have walked back out never to come back. Now, thankfully, I think that's very few. I wish it was none, but I'm not blind either. That means everybody matters. And I see how intentional so many of you are in making sure that doesn't happen, but we got to continue and continue so that nobody ever has that feeling as they walk in these doors to see what the Lord's church is supposed to be. Questions or comments about that? All right.
I think it's important for the few people that come through those doors, that people that have already been here, immediately grab them up, get with them, and have them something to do. But I think, as far as encouraging those of us that have been Christians for a long time, I think we have a real responsibility to help each other see talents we don't know we have.
Yeah.
That there's somebody in here that I know right now all the time because he needs to lead singing and it's not doing it, and he knows who he is sitting over there.
Well, I know you're not talking about me, so well, you just keep looking over that way someplace.
And I'm just saying,
Yes.
some people would never think that to teach.
Yes.
And the teacher might grab a hold of them and say, can you help me with this? And the next thing you know, they're comfortable.
Yes.
So I think we have to push people a little bit that might not be quite so comfortable for them to find that ability to reach out and try something.
I think that's so true. And honestly, because one thing I see overwhelming that's impressive here, and I think you see it too, is when a new face walks in that door, there's multiple people talking. But do we continue with that? Do we make sure that for the weeks to come, the months to come, that we continue to do that all the time? And I think you're exactly right. At some point in time, who's going to be the person to step up to say, hey, I'm teaching a class, or hey, I'm doing this. Would you come help me? Just so they have a place. They say, oh, you mean I get to invest here? I get to be a part more than just sitting in the seat? I think it's important. And I think that's a great thing, something maybe we can all grow a little bit more at. I think that's a great thing. Let me go through. Y'all know what discouragement and hopelessness, but this is the point I wanted to make, this one. As we see more and more people we know and love feeling discouraged and hopeless, and we do, honestly, we have people that we know feel hopeless, the more important it becomes for us to be an encourager. You know, when some people are at points in their life, you know, we sit back and we say, but I just don't know what to say. You know, those people will never forget that you did say something, though. It may not always be the right thing. It may be that you just give them a smile and a handshake and maybe a side hug. You may send them a note or a text, but it's something. And maybe that was just enough that day to make that day better. We have to quit making excuses of maybe later. That's one of the things that haunts me more than anything is when I don't follow through with something I wanted to do and I should have done, and I made an excuse which would have just taken 2 seconds to send that text or to pick up the phone and just say, hey, just thinking about you today. Let's do more of that. Be that encourager because somebody's depending on you. Somebody you're going to be able to think about that I may have forgotten, or you're going to be able to connect with that I don't connect with as well. It takes all of us to do that little bit so it's all getting done. So what do encouragers do? They listen in a way that make people feel understood. I struggle with that sometimes. Part of that's my ADHD. You'll be looking me in the eye and talking to me about something, and somebody walks by and I can't help it. I'm working on that. But you know how important it is to the other person for us to continue to make eye contact? One thing you'll notice that I do because it helps me to stay on task a little bit more is as somebody's talking to me, I might say, oh yeah, oh definitely. I'm not really trying to interrupt and I'm not trying to agree, but it's helping me to say something in the middle of it that helps me to continue to stay focused on what you just said. And sometimes it's just little things that might help us to really be intentional to the people, because the one thing I want people to know and you want people to know is that we care about you as you're talking. And that's part of being an encourager. They are patient and slow to judge. You know, as people are hurting, they're probably going to say something to you that you're thinking, whoa, what? Why do you feel that way? Why is that bothering you? Why? But it's real to them. The biggest thing they need is just somebody to care. And are you giving that compassionate heart to them, saying, hey, this is a big deal to you, so talk to me. They take time for others and make them feel special and valued. You know, I really want to concentrate on that last word, valued. Because everybody wants to know if I'm discouraged, if I'm depressed, if I feel hopeless, it's mainly because I don't feel like I have any value. Whatever's going on makes me feel a level of worthlessness or less than I feel. And I need something. I need somebody else to make me feel like I have value in whatever's going on. We need to make sure we're giving people that so they can feel valued, finding the good in their life, the good of who they are. They rejoice in people's personal victories and are sincerely excited about them. You know, when you get in some of these places, I'll be honest, Lori taught me this at the beginning of our marriage. She used to celebrate all the little victories. I was always thinking about the outcome. I'm not happy till I get to she was like, hey, yeah, let's celebrate. Yeah, look at this, we did. I'm like, but I think we need to start celebrating the Wild West. What do you do with that? Got our guns drawn, here we go. Yeah, anyways, again, laughter is the best medicine. But you know, when you are talking to somebody and you know the struggles that they're having, remember to check on them and ask what tomorrow's like. Hey, how you doing today? Yeah, all right, so what about today? How's today going? And when they're saying, hey, today's a better day, great. Let's do something. Hey, you want to go out to eat tonight? You want to go get some ice cream? Celebrate a victory with them. Because maybe that step of having a good day, choosing to do something for somebody else, needs to be celebrated. And maybe all that is a pat on the back or, I am so proud of you. Because sometimes in our moments, that's what we need. That encouragement to be better. So how do I become an encourager? Becoming a more encouraging person is simply a matter of choice. We talked about that. Mike talked about his uncle. It was a choice every day to say, you know what? Today's a good day. And I'm making a choice to be an encourager, to be positive, to find the good. As a Christian, we must realize that being an encourager is part of our ministry. You know, we think about Christ, his mission while he was on earth being in ministry. He was thinking about, how do I make life better for you? But it wasn't just about the physical life, even though he did that. It was about the spiritual life. He wanted to help everybody else to see there's something great about following God. And he wanted to encourage people to do it. And that was what he wanted to do, and that should be who we want to be. How do we encourage people to have this life that we have? And show them it's a great life to have. It's a great life. We need to encourage people to do it. The encourager's ministry is to help people believe in the possibility of improving their character and circumstances. Notice the last part, with God's help. We can't be the source as we're encouraging people that they're counting on. That we need to remind them, hey, you know what? Let's go to God about this. Hey, you know what? I'm praying for you. Hey, don't forget to lean on God. When you took that step, remember that step was a faith that you had in God to take that step. God helped you to do that. We got to remind people, because if they're only counting on us, eventually we're going to let them down. But if it's all about God, we're leading them to the source of that strength that they're looking for, the hope they're looking for. So as we close tonight, I want us to think back at these two passages. Therefore, encourage one another and build one another up just as you are doing. Make this who you are. And I want you to think about these men and women who have already gone, and I want you to think about who they were. Because Miss Sarah's right. Mr. Buck was in pain. Mr. Hazel, I guarantee there was days he didn't feel like getting out. But he did anyways. They were intentional. So many more were intentional. Don't you see the example they left for us? And then Hebrews 13, but exhort one another every day, as long as it is called today. See, it can't be a time-to-time choice. This is an everyday choice. And you got to realize as you're doing this, who you're doing it for. Today, all I really want to do is show people Christ. And I'm going to try to do that through the encouragement that I provide. Tonight, we offer an invitation. What's the song? 858. And tonight, you may be wanting us to pray with you or to pray for you, or maybe you want to put Christ on in baptism. If there's any way we can help you tonight, come now as we stand and sing.